Hello and welcome back. So in this part we're going to work on the wood areas, and that's the sink bench and the shelving unit here. We're going to come down to we're in the render tab still, in the item tree. I'm going to come down to the camera. Let's go over to the shader. The scene camera here, and we're going to right click on it. And I'm going to duplicate. Just create another one. And I'm going to call this item camera. I'm going to come down to the properties, and I'm just going to put the focal length up to about 25mm, just so it's not quite so wide angle. And I'm going to change the view here from scene camera to item cam. Now what I'm going to do, I'm basically going to just spin around a bit just so I can get a better, look at the texture we're going to put on here. Okay, over here we're going to change the render camera here to item cam, and in the items I'm going to turn off the candles for now, just to help speed things up, and we're going to turn off the sink also, so we're left just with a bench. I'm also going to come up to the items here, and I'm going to add a point light, and down in this view here I'm just going to hit W key. I'm just going to move that just above the bench, just so we can get more of a, I know it's very bright now, but just so we can get more of an indication of where the grain and stuff is. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the items here, and we're going to select the bench. I'm going to hit M, and we're going to create a new material called wood. Over to the shade tree. Okay. Now then, if we go over to the Luxology assets, we're going to go up to images, and we're going to come down to pH textures and wood, and you'll see there's a wood sort of diffuse map and a bump map. I'm going to come over to images here, and I'm just going to drag it into my scene, and I'm also going to drag the bump in as well. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my material there. We're going to go add layer, image map, and we're going to use clip browser and find our wood. And now you'll see that appear within the render preview there. Okay. The UV map, I'm just going to set it to texture, which is the UV map for the bench. I'm now going to come over to the actual diffuse map itself here. I'm going to right click, I'm going to create an instance of that, and in the instance italicized version, I'm going to come down to image, change that to the wood 01 bump, and then we're going to change the effect to bump. Okay, now in the original one, I'm going to get the gamma here, I'm going to divide that by 2.2. It doesn't matter about the bump. Okay, and then within the material, first thing we'll do before I get is, actually I'll leave it up 5mm for now so you can see the outcome. Okay, so moving on to the material itself. The diffuse, I'm going to put that about 60. The colour, I'm going to move it just off white. sort of aiming more sort of towards a reddish type hue. Okay, we'll turn on conserve energy. Specular, I'm going to put that about 5%. The Fennel 16. Now this sort of colour here, the specular colour, I'm going to have the same as the same sort of colour as the diffuse, just slightly brighter. So I'm just going to up the values. A bit. Roughness, I'm going to bring down to 15. Now for the reflection, I'm basically going to mimic the values. And I'm going to turn on below reflections. Now I'm going to leave the reflection rays at 64 for now. But when we come to the final render, we're going to have to up those to maybe 100 and 120. The higher you go, obviously, the longer it's going to take to render. But the better result you're going to get. So we're just going to let the preview window do its magic. Now you can see straight away that for quite a shiny piece of wood, the bump is just too much. It's a nice grain, but it's just too much for what we want. So I'm going to bring this right down as almost like a smooth surface, and this is just going to break it up very slightly using this bump channel here. So now's a good time to bring in the other objects like the sink and the candles, put them back in. You can see it's quite a nice, and we're getting a reflection of the mirror there. So I'm going to bring the candles back and the sink. And that's our wood done. I'll just pause it while the preview's going and unpause it when it finishes. Okay, so that's almost done there. You can see that's a nice wood grain there. It's very slight, this bump. It's just breaking the surface up slightly. And we're getting a nice reflection, not too strong and overpowering. Okay, so I'm going to move the item camera now up to the shelves. Now the UV map for the shelves is the same, showing the same polys for the same pixels values for all the 3 shelves. So we can just do this by looking at one. So I'm going to click on the shelves. We'll go back over to the shader tree. I'm going to polys. I'm going to select the shelf polys there. We'll hit M. I'm just going to select wood. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate the wood. And delete the old wood. Now the reason we need to make a new one in this instance, as opposed to when we did the plastics and things, we were just copying them, is that within the actual images themselves, if you go over to the texture locator, it's actually pointing to a UV map, and in this case it's pointing to the shell, this sink bench. So when we use it for the shelves, we're also going to be looking at the sink bench UV map, which is incorrect for this. So in our shelf wood, in the text locator. I'm just going to change that to shelves. And the same for the bump map. Okay. Now the rest of the details and the materials should be the same, so we haven't got to worry too much. We're just going to let this run and just see the grain, so I'll just pause the video while it's going. It's not going to take more than a few minutes. Okay, it's almost done there. So we can see the grains going nicely across there, as opposed to being all distorted due to the UV map. Now the grain is a slightly different size, obviously, because these shells are a lot smaller than the actual size of the bench there. Now you can scale up the UV map or down if you need to, but we're just going to leave it like this for now. It's a nice grain effect. So when we come back now, we'll look at the candles. Bye for now.